Hi, have you noticed that somehow things are becoming more connected, but somehow less meaningful? Hear me out. So, there are a couple of points I have to clarify more on what I'm just saying. I'll talk. So, my first point would be about how friendships feel more temporary these days. Let me explain more. So, the thing is, it seems somehow friendships are becoming more temporary. I don't know if you get what I mean. Because, for example, you decide like to go to a new place, new town, start a new life, and then you end up having friends, like trying to make new friends in a new place. Now, usually, because for example, let's say you come from Africa. Then you come to a country like Canada. Then you try to make friends with the people you meet in Canada. You come from an African culture, the way you make jokes are different from the way you make jokes here in Canada, and also, the way you talk, the accent can be somehow different. So all those factors somehow I feel like end up like creating this sort of uh, layout, like it makes you more fail to get like the full depth. Because for example, you try to make a joke with someone who didn't grow up from the same background as you, and so that you feel like that anchor that you had from the beginning or from where you grew up from is somehow missing to like connect fully, especially if you try to compare your childhood friendships that have lasted from your childhood all the way to now. And then to those friendships, it's like you can see you're missing a sort of foundation to make that friendship more permanent. But obviously, I know I could be saying this, but there are those friendships that somehow end up being a long-term thing, even though they just meet them like recently, like in Canada or like in any country, America, US, whatever country you travel to. That's my first point in terms of friendships. That's why I feel like it could feel more temporary. That's just the first point. So even with the friendships, you could still have another reason, is because the friendships you're making could be just to find like connections, to like try to establish your career in the new country you're in. So the intention of the friendship is not really to like just be someone you can hang out with and all that. It could be just to find a way to connect, to network, to like, get to know people and expand on your career, whatever. So whatever it may be, it could be YouTube, it could be economics, any career. Yeah, that's what I feel like. So the second point I have is people are more distracted. The people are getting more distracted, especially because we're in the age of, internet and everything seems to be out there. So you could be focusing on one thing and then the next day you see something that you feel is better, and then boom, you moved on to that thing. So you can see that could be another reason why I believe things are actually feeling less deeper. Because you can see, if you fail to establish in anything, as from the previous example of the friendships, if you are failing to establish that, like to pick that one thing and stick on it, whatever it may be, a new hobby, a new, those type of things, failing to stick on one of them could be another issue. Because you can see, if you don't stay in one thing, you won't really give it enough time to like nourish into like a plant. Or like, when you plant, long time ago, everything used to take time, like a lot of time. If you would like to plant plants, you would have to take a while to start planting. If you start a business, it would take you a while for it to get up and start making money. You would have to go like down into the moment where you're trying to make back the money you just put into the business and all that. But you can see these days, those businesses apparently they can switch in one day. You can make an AI business and then you're making millions somehow. I can't say I don't know that these are true or not, because I have tried them, but I'm a bit lazy to go all the way into them, because I might also not really trust them deep down somewhere. So that's another reason I think things are feeling more shallow. You're just jumping into the next, onto the next thing that's just flashy, which might be a big problem. Another reason I have is texting. Now, texting being a new form of conversation, I mean, it has been there for a while. Like, you could say, I don't know when exactly, I'm not good with timings, but yeah, texting has been here for a while. And when you try to compare with back in the day things to the texting nowadays, you can see that those days they used to use mail, like literal papers. For those who don't know, it's like, papers that you write on and like tell your loved ones, or like, oh my god, I miss you so much. It's gonna be. Then it takes like 5 days to reach, or even a month to reach that person you're trying to send that to. So that in its own thing keeps any sort of relationship like ignited, like spark spark? Why? Is because you're waiting all this time for something, and then you finally are gratified or like paid back with that thing, you know. And also when you think about it, you don't really have, like, you have a lot of things to talk about because it's for a while you're replying a message that's going to tell a summary of everything that has happened to you, so you can see the difference. But now when you come to texting is an everyday thing, bro. You come and literally talk about okay, you can't, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but personally I can't text every day. I have nothing to say, so I prefer obviously the days of those days. It's much more interesting, and you obviously keep a lot of conversation for later, you know. Like, you keep a lot of situations that have happened. Like, let's say yesterday you saw a car crash, the day after that you saw, let's say you were broke and you tried to beg someone for money or some crazy situation. So you gather all that information up, and then you just tell your loved one or your friend or whatever it is. So they have a lot of things to be like, oh damn, oh okay, oh I see. Yeah, you get what I mean. Yeah, so that's another reason I think things are less deep, just because of that. You see, text makes it feel like, since you're texting every day, you feel like you have to text every day because it's available. And if you're not texting that person every day, it means you don't care about them, which I think is, bro. Most of my friends who I text like once a year, bro, and every time we talk back, it's like it was just yesterday that we last talked. So I don't get the problem with that. So yeah, that's another reason I have in mind. Another thing, relationships moving too fast. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean, for example, if you use dating apps, which let's leave that for another day. But yeah, if you've used dating apps before, if you are those like really good looking people, then you're definitely going to get swipes instantly, and hence, because you have more access to more people, you end up dating like multiple people, you get? So it's like you fail to pick one person. It's like when you're slapped with a lot of choices, you're like, who am I supposed to pick? All of them are so attractive. Then you're also attractive, so also the other person on the other side is like, oh my god, who am I supposed to pick? Then they're like, oh my god. So hence you pick one, but then you feel like you're missing out on the other, so you say, okay, I'll pick this one, then I'm also going to date with the next person, also going to date with another person. So hence I've distributed my energy to all these people. Boom, I'm tired. Boom, I've failed to make any connections now. Now I start getting crazy in my mind. I'm like, oh my god, why am I not able to stay with one person, stick with one person? Bro, pick that one person. You're not missing out. Okay, if you really want to try out the people, try out the first, try out the second, but by the fifth, you should be able to have picked someone. Because I don't know if you guys have watched that video. I'm not really sure what it's about. It's like 33% into the choices is the number at which your choice should have been picked. So like, you go through the first 10. Through the first 10. In the first 3, you will find like the best and let's say the worst person. And then you'll also, as you keep going further, you find a more good looking person in those 10. Then by the time you reach the 10th, I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but by the time, so don't take my word for it. Go make your research on the 30% rule. I don't know what its name is. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, so by the time you reach the 10th person, you should have known what your standards are of good looking and bad looking and character wise, and hence you will be able to make your decision based on that. You people who keep going more than that, you guys have some explaining to do, at least to me, because I don't get it. So yeah, that's my point on that point. Now the next point is way too how can I say, relatable. I think all of you experience it. I experience it too. Not saying I did experience the others, but it's scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on Instagram. You guys know the drill. You know what it does to you. I think you've watched so many videos about this. You've seen how you scrolling makes you feel less excited when you see more new things, because you've seen most of the things and you don't really stick to one video long enough for it to have that big of an impact on you. So you're like, every time you scroll, you laugh. I mean, you laugh at, if it's funny, you laugh at it. If it's educational, you'll watch that video. But then because the next video is right next to it, you're not really going to retain the knowledge you got from that previous video. So pretty straight up for you guys. Let's go to the next point. Now, this next point is kind of rare, but that awkward silence in between conversations or in like moments of life, like when you're going through any moment of life with a partner, for example. Let's say you start talking to this person and then you get to know them, and then you reach a moment where like you guys are quiet, or there's no more jokes you can have, or yeah, all those type of, like, there's nothing to talk about anymore. You guys think the relationship is ending. Why do you think that? That's what a normal life is. Imagine this. Okay, just imagine this. Do you prefer a life which is more of like like a graph, like you have a graph, and then your stability of your life goes like this: high, low, high, really high highs, really low lows, really high high, really low low, go lower lower, back higher, like that. That's so messed. It's so messed for you guys and your mental health. It's like crazy for you guys. So I believe the best thing is a relationship with someone where it's like up, then a bit, you have a little bit ups, a little bit downs, but it's in a range, nothing too crazy. So when you think about it like that, that quietness that you guys are experiencing is actually just part of the relationship, or part of the ride. So if you guys are not ready to go along with that ride, then what are you doing the ride in the first place? That's one of the reasons I also believe the depth is not coming, or is not being experienced these days. Now the next one is for all y'all chill. I'm a chill guy, yeah? You guys who be pretending that everything is chill, nothing is too crazy for you. This is what happens to you now. In the situation where you are in a relationship, this is I'm sorry, I'm using relationships a lot, but it's the easiest way to explain to you the theory. So you are acting nonchalant, hence the person who you are with is, in their mind, they're like, oh my god, so whatever I do, this person doesn't really react. It ends up making people try less. You get? It's like, oh, you're nonchalant, all right, I'll be nonchalant, and then we'll see how nonchalant this relationship can be. You know what I mean? Yeah, so just imagine that situation. I mean, I know some of you guys, it might just be how you are, but then you have to obviously explain and voice that to your partner whatever way you can. So I'm personally not good at explaining things off head. Right now you guys can see that, I think. Obviously through the editing you guys are not going to see most of the mistakes I'm making, but yeah, I find it better to write it down, sit down and think about it, and I write it down, and then I give it to the person. That's how I usually express myself. So yes, those are the reasons I have in mind, but you guys could comment down below whatever you have in mind. And with all that said, you guys, don't lose hope. I know the depth still exists out there, but it's just maybe harder to find, which makes it obviously more valuable once you find it. So with all this said, guys, keep trying your best to get out of these situations, and try to get more meaning out of things. And I see that a lot in the ladies out there. I would like to commend you guys. From the videos I've been seeing, the ladies have been actually trying to put in that work to you know what I mean. Yeah, okay guys, have a nice time. I hope you relate, or you learn something from this. If you didn't, and if you had something else to add on, please go down in the comments. Otherwise, peace out, subscribe, comment, you know that drill. Turn on notifications. And this is your boy Sammy G, or the Random Master. Peace.